Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight's story is about the King of the Turds. It's a most unusual story, one you may have heard before. Anyway, this little man lived deep in the forest, and basically he just gathered shit all the time. That's why people nicknamed him King of the Shit. And he was tired of it one day. He thought, I'm not going to put up with this all the time. I'm going to make some money out of this shit. So he actually literally went round the paddocks and the fields and the meadows and picked up cow shit, goat shit, and all sorts of shit. And he would spend days and days trying to polish it. That much success. He just kept trying, but nothing seemed to work. So he put an advert in the papers and online, and he was looking for a wife, because, being king of the turd made him a very lonely turd. So he advertised, and he had a few women come round into the forest, and they asked what he did, and he said, I got lots of shit. And they said, oh, all right. So they looked around, and all the local people, and even people from around his own country, just wouldn't put up with this shit and rejected him, which made him pretty mad, actually. Anyway, he went overseas and went to foreign countries and looked here and looked there, and eventually found a lady who wasn't really that bright, but he told her that he had loads of shit, and she was impressed because she didn't have much where she lived, and she looked forward to having, loads of shit. Anyway, eventually she moved there, and he got her polishing turds, which he really didn't. Well, they were sort of, half shiny, but not really. But anyway, he forced her to get a wheelbarrow and walk 5 miles into town on market day, and she just didn't sell any shit. So she'd come home depressed and tip the barrow back down on the huge pile of shit. It was getting enormous at this stage because he kept gathering shit. Anyway, he forced her to work day and night to get these turds basically polished. And some were getting a bit shiny because they're getting old, but it was a pretty tough job for the young woman. Anyway, to cut a long story short, she got the shit out of there. She disappeared. He couldn't find her. Anyway, he was in a rage. He had all this shit, and he had loads of shit, and he had more shit than he could handle. He had shit in boxes and shits in old RVs and shits in a little sort of cabin type thing, and he just had shit everywhere. And he got a bit drunk, and he started firing weapons, and the police came round, and he was just crazy. And the policeman eventually pushed him up against the side of this little cabin and handcuffed him and read him his rights, and he just kept saying silly things like, I got shit and no one cares. And anyway, the other officer opened the little cabin, and piles of half-polished turds fell to the ground. And the arresting officer said to him, you really are full of shit. Good night, ladies and gentlemen.